ahead in my negative tag team deal after that Buffalo game where they all I can tell you is Dolphins number 1, baby!
Names up, baby.
Dolphins
Names
number
up.
1!
I swear, if a certain quarterback is mentioned in the comments, got my beers ready. I'm gonna crack it open.
Or is it the
We
Serbian
got
kid?
the Serbian kid,
This looks done. Oh my god, it looks fantastic.
I'm the man. I said it, and it's reality. All right.
Congratulations.
Happy Hump Day, Miami. We're a little bit tardy to the party. Just came from a party. We're running on Cuban time today, approximately 15 minutes late. So we'll keep it fun. We'll try to finish before the top of the hour so we can get on with No Holds Bar. You are watching Fast Fins Talk Sports Network with yours truly, Alex. My man for the right, Michael, Miami Clutch. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
What's up, man? Just catching this Heat game, enjoying the late start so I can get a handle of this game.
Get it? You see, you're welcome. You're welcome. And a man that many people have seen. We haven't seen him a long time in Fast Break. That's not Justin. That is Bobby from the East Coast.
Is this not
What's up,
one of the? Is this not one of the Finch Talk shows? Holy crap! Hell! Oops, my bad.
He's informed ground today. He's like, basketball. What's basketball?
Bobby's just ready to talk about Tua right now, and we're talking about the Heat right
You
now.
saw it, right? He was going to
That's
talk
right.
Tua extension. He was going to talk draft right now. I was like, no.
He was ready.
This Derrick Henry trade. Let's get it done.
He's like, oh crap, we're talking about Kevin Durant.
Oh man,
Let's roll.
Hey, it's funny because we haven't talked on air in a long time, Bobby, in regards to basketball. Obviously, Clutch is with me every week. Well, we missed Justin. If Justin is able to log on, we'll pop him right back in. So I'm going to ask you, Bob, because like we haven't even talked off air about this. You wanted the Kevin Love edition a few years ago. We talked about it on when we did a 10th Street Boys a few weeks ago. You're kind of seeing now the effects of Kevin Love on this team. And I wasn't surprised because, Clutch, remember we talked about this. I was a big fan of starting Love right away because I knew ideally what they wanted to do with Caleb Martin, bring him to his natural role. So it's only a week. It's only been a few games. Obviously, it started off a little rough. We expected that. But how do you feel so far that it has its effect for the rest of the season?
Yes, and me.
Absolutely, bro. I just said, Bobby, what do you feel?
Yeah, but then you went to Clutch, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I'll just sit back and relax.
He's new to this, guys. Don't worry about it.
I'm used to the hosting role, so I'm just gonna say you're watching Fast Break on the Finch Talk Sports Network. Smash that like and subscribe button, whether you're watching on Twitter or Facebook, YouTube. We appreciate you. Okay, much love. So Kevin Love sides with the Heat. No, much love. No pun intended. Like you said, this is something that I've been saying for a while now that I would like for Miami to do, because obviously it's a natural fit, and the Heat needed someone at the 4 that fit that role to play next to Bam, and obviously a great passer, which is going to help out the younger guys, especially, and help Jimmy too, to kind of take the load off of him. I'm excited to see it. It's still a long way to go. I've told you before in the past that Miami is not a regular season team. They're a playoff team. And this was a great move to help make a better run in the playoffs. This was a move you were missing last year, not defensively, because obviously PJ Tucker helped out immensely with that. But offensively, you have another wing player, after stretch 4, who could make those plays that you weren't getting before, that you're not going to get from Bam necessarily, because Bam, whether you think it's, going to happen or not, doesn't usually hit threes or want to hit threes, So it's a good move for Miami. It's going to help in the long run. When Miami makes that run in the playoffs, I think you're going to see the bigger difference then. I do wish they made a move at guard. I know they're bringing Kyle's going to come back, and we knew that whole injury thing. But I like Zeller, which I would love to hear from Clutch on Zeller. You know, I'm very intrigued by Zeller, the move of Zeller, but I would have preferred if they would have gone after a Westbrook, you know, and added that element to this team, or another type of guard, maybe John Wall, who has not got the market that he thought he was going to get. You know, no one's touching on him. So love the love move, intrigued by the Zeller move, but I wish they did a little more.
And Bob, you mentioned that in Clutch. I'm going to kick it to you because this is one of the key points that we talked about. I know your love for Dragic. Dragic was recently released. Okay, our roster right now is at 15. I don't foresee them releasing anybody. And there you're thinking about releasing Highsmith or Yurt. The Cody signing came at the perfect time, which when you start comparing these situations, even Philadelphia, and they interviewed Doc Rivers before the game today, and he said that, yeah, they were interested in adding Kevin Love. But once again, they signed Dedmon. So the sequence of events played out perfectly for Miami. We were able to get K-Love. We were able to sign Cody Zeller, which could be a rotation in any team, honestly, right now, the way he's playing. So how do you feel the effects of Cody Zeller? Because I've been pleasantly surprised. I remember Cody, but I was pleasantly surprised that he just literally was plucked off the street, and he fits the role perfectly. I know he's comfortable with Oladipo. He's comfortable in the system. But aside from that, how do you feel his involvement has obviously elongated our production line for this year, and even the Dragic? Touch a little bit upon the Dragic situation, because even there's not a roster spot. Do you see a reunion in the near future with us, man?
All right. So, I mean, starting off with like Cody Zeller, it was weird because you saw the Kevin Love signing.
Yeah.
And everybody is happy or whatever. And then 2 minutes later, Woj adds, and they're also signing Cody Zeller. And you're kind of like, what?
What's going on, man? What year is this?
when it happened, I was like, I didn't like the signing when it first happened, and it sounds weird coming out of me right now because you look on screen. I love him.
Yeah, you love
him. I didn't like the signing because, like I think Bobby said, we needed a guard. I think, but then you didn't know what was going on with year 7. And Orlando Robinson's contract was expired. His two-way numbers were expiring. So it started making a little bit more sense. But then it made a whole lot of sense when you saw him on the court, like from day one. Because for a guy that hasn't played in a whole year, maybe I think a year and a half.
Yeah, coming back from injury.
He's strong as hell. He sets screens like a brick. And he's energetic, gets the putback. He put Joel Embiid's shot on the glass the other day. I think he's a really good addition. I like the signing. I don't mind not signing a guard because I think somebody like Cody Zeller who brings the grit is what you need come playoff time. And Kevin Love, as Bobby touched on, he's the perfect fit for the roster. I said last week, he's everything that he is looking for. The only downside is age, but Spo maximizes guys like this, so I love it all around. You told me to touch on Dragic a little bit, right?
Yeah, you're personal with Dragic because for me, I've always been a Dragic admirer. I love who he is as a player, but even more as a person. And that he's a person that I do see being part of, I don't know if the front office or even the coaching staff, but always having those ties to the Heat organization once he retires. Because and ideally this year, when you mentioned that they signed Cody Zeller, you kind of saw the writing on the wall that they're going to come back. Kyle's coming back somehow. Even if it doesn't come back with his knee issues, whatever the case may be, they were kind of comfortable with even Oladipo running the backup point guard. So you can kind of see once they signed Zeller, you kind of knew everything else was off unless something else drastic happened. But you can touch upon Dragic.
So, I mean, I love Goran. Goran is like, he was not even bringing up the skill right now. He was just a good vibe around the team.
Yeah.
It was
especially
him,
with Jimmy.
Him and Jimmy. Even he had a good relationship with Bam, with Tyler. He was perfect. He had perfect relationships all around. And
he was like a perfect glue guy. He meshed all the personalities.
He was the bridge between the Big Three era and the current Heat.
Yeah,
because we tried to put him next to Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade It didn't work out because of Chris Bosh's injuries and blood
Yes.
clot, and that sucks. And then he was the bridge between that era and this era.
Mhm.
And I have a lot of love for Dragic. I don't think it's going to happen. I just don't.
No.
But I want it to happen. Personally, like I know you guys are old school Heat fans. So what my take is might come as a surprise to you. I put him over Hardaway as Heat point guards.
Oh, damn! I wasn't expecting that one.
I put him over Hardaway.
Is it because I'm here? You just start.
I
You're just starting shit. Is it because I'm here?
Yeah, he's usually not this conflictive.
Whoa! Like, all right.
No, but I'll give you this. You mentioned that he was a bridge point guard, basically. The only thing I would say is Hardaway to me is at the importance level is a little bit higher because he established part of that Heat culture. Hardaway, along with Mourning and Riley, was and people forget Hardaway was only here for 5 years, 4 to 5 years, really, at his peak. And he was kind of like a castaway at that time in the NBA. He had gone through some injuries, but he really put us on the map. Unfortunately for Dragic, we will never be able to analyze his full on-court effect because, like you mentioned, Clutch, the Chris Bosh situation. That team was built for him to play with Wade, with Bosh. At that time, even a younger Whiteside. They had Winslow. So that team built to kind of like, I know Winslow was drafted later, but that team was built basically using Chris Bosh as your stretch 4, stretch 5. And we never really got to see how it was going to play out. So I will tell you 1A and 1B because Mario Chalmers holds a special place in my heart, but he's 1C because of the it was just real. Like he was like when a couple of my friends call him like fluffy because Rio was never like really fit. He was kind of like bouncy around, but he was a natural point guard for those teams. But that's interesting. But staying on the topic about the Heat situation, I want to throw it to you, Bob, because we've talked about this a long time. And rotation wise, you know how I am, and I bore you to death sometimes with my rotation talks with my teams. The moment we talked about this a lot before on Fast Break, Bob. The situation with Kyle Lowry, that kind of like the writing was on the wall. You started seeing Spo manage his minutes, and he was diminishing his minutes as. You see, Kyle Lowry is definitely not up there in the rankings. You can see Spo managing Kyle's minutes as the season started progressing. So you already kind of saw what was going to happen. Obviously, the trade deadline came. I expressed to them how I felt the organization was going to use this as a perfect time to bring back Lowry from injury. He has to play another role. Apparently, behind the scenes, they've been working things out. I understand he was injured, but this is also mostly like PR control because he probably was offended or his feelings were hurt. It's understandable. You are. I don't like judging players by their salary, but people from the outside in, like, oh, you have to play him. He's your third highest player. It's not a fit right now. You can't mess with your fit of your team, no matter how much money you're making, because the point of this game is to win. So I don't care if you're making $35 million. If I can't play you, I will not play you. Just like Spo, if he doesn't play Robinson, he doesn't play him because he's not a fit right now. But me, I'm comfortable. Continue to start Vincent, bring Lowry off the bench, and that's pushing it because Lowry's minutes honestly should be 15 to 20. You can monitor Vincent's minutes, keep him in 20, 25 range, so you can play with like a 9-man rotation. Are you comfortable, and do you believe Lowry will accept this reserve role open? Because obviously, come off season, they're going to try to offload his contract or try to buy him out some way, somehow, because it's a lot of money. So this is not going to be an easy transaction. You're going to have to attach some assets. So are you comfortable with him this season? He's rested. He's no longer injured. He's trying to come back from that. So he's still recouping. Are you comfortable with him as your backup point guard? And do you feel that he will not affect the rotation negatively?
I'm comfortable with him being my backup point guard in the regular season. You know, I think it's always better when you have a starting caliber type player, a veteran player who comes off the bench, who's a lot fresh, who's more fresh who could off. When Jimmy comes out, you got fresh legs, a fresh star caliber player when he's at his best. So I like it. I think I'm okay with it, especially again during the regular season. Playoff time is a little different.
Exactly.
You want to protect them. You want to look what happened with Dragic when we made that finals run. We lost him. If he was there, and this is what I'll say, Dragic, yes, could be 1A if you want to say 1A, 1B. He could have been 1A in my opinion. I agree with Clutch if the Heat would have won when he was here. But the Bosch situation, the injury situation that happened kind of nudged him back a little bit. But he was that good for Miami when he was here. And I would never really close the door on Dragic coming back to the Heat.
No.
I think his relationship with the players, his relationship with the organization is there. But I think Lowry does. I don't know if Lowry accepts it. I think he kind of has to. If it comes at the end of the season, obviously he might be included in some sort of deal at the end of the year if Miami could make a deal. I know lately they've shown they really, that it's been tough for them to make a sort of a kind of deal, but they've been going after big fish, but they might be able to get some, spare parts and unload Lowry that way and help balance out the roster a little more than what it is. We know where Durant is now. We don't know what happens with Irving next season again. Off season might be off. So we don't know how Miami's going to adjust the roster next year. But for Lowry, I could see him doing that backup role, that rotation piece until the playoffs, and then or especially in a conference championship, him possibly getting a starting spot because of who he is and what he is to the team and to Jimmy. Jimmy loves Kyle,
Yeah.
And so if Jimmy wants Kyle playing with him, it's going to happen. But I think it's more playoff time than it is regular season. And if we had to cut somebody, I'd cut Omer for Dragic just because, F you know what I mean?
Yeah,
My
right.
Kids here,
right. Of course.
But that's
Why
it.
would you?
You
Why
know?
would you? Of course. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Clutch, on that note, I will cut Highsmith. Just to say Omer.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, of course.
You know what? I'm cutting Omer just to piss you off.
Yo,
there you go. You see?
Do you realize this? You guys, God damn, bro. This is like Dolphins Twitter now. You guys are just getting mad at me for no reason.
When you got the
Jesus.
El Jefe in the house and the voice of guy, you're in
Jesus
trouble, brother.
Christ.
Is that what it is?
Clutch, before we go on to the rest of the NBA, because Bobby, I want to throw up to you the Karl-Anthony situation. I do want to ask you one thing, Clutch. I know where I was when I saw the starting lineup. And I remember vividly you and me talking with Justin the Wednesday before. And the whole season, basically, you can vouch for me in that I felt, obviously, that Caleb Martin he's maximized his role. He's played his role to the best of his ability, but he's playing out of his role. The moment we signed Kevin Love, and we talked about this, I'm like, I think I will start it right away. I will start Kevin Love right away because it's a natural shift. And we even talked about maybe, sporadically, maybe like a few games, leave Martin in there. And I'm like, it just makes so much sense that if you just move Martin to the bench, those Jimmy off minutes, like those plus and minus, the moment Jimmy comes off, that kind of stabilizes that rotation. And the pleasant surprise was obviously Cody, because this is basically the role that Omer was supposed to play from the beginning of the season. And now I ask myself, dude, if we would have signed Cody from the beginning of the season, if he was healthy enough, I don't know if it was part of his rehab, that now is when he was fully healthy, but this is basically the identity, how the Heat have wanted to play all year. So from my part, I'm frustrated in regards to that. I want to know your reaction. This is what I saw this team trying to get to the whole year. Obviously, Kevin Love kind of falls into your lap. How did you react to that situation the moment you saw Caleb off the bench? Was that natural for you, or you're like, holy shit, I didn't expect Spo to do that?
I mean, when we first talked about this, I told you that I speak fluent Spo, and that he's not going to start Kevin Love yet.
Yeah.
That's true. So it seems like I need to brush up on my Spo.
Yep. Rosetta Stone. Spo-ism, Rosetta Stone.
But right before the game, I remember this vividly. I was talking with Brady on the timeline I was asking him about something, and he said, and I asked him, "Do you see him starting at any point?" And he's like, "I see him starting right now." And usually, when Brady's so sure of something, you listen because he knows what he's talking about. Smart
Mhm.
guy. So I was like, he might start. Holy crap! And then lo and behold, about like 2 hours later, into the starting lineup. So I'm kind of glad I was wrong because I wanted Kevin Love to start right away because of his fit with the team. Obviously, the first game wasn't what we wanted, but
Ex-
it was kind of expected. He's new team. He's been with the
Mhm.
Cavaliers for how many years? So I think he's a perfect fit, and I think I liked that he started right away because it showed this Spo really wanted a power forward.
No, and you can tell. I'll peel the curtain in, like, for example, from a coaching perspective. The moment you see that, and I analyze that situation, and I'm like, look, I'm 20 something games out. My rotation right now is not the rotation I want to carry into the playoffs. I'm like, why am I going to wait a few more games to do a move that I can incorporate? It wasn't ideal because it wasn't the training camp length, but you had like 3 or 4 days really after you sign Kevin Love that you see him in the facilities, you kind of see him talking to players. So you can kind of implement a small little, cohesive rotation there. So I'm like, I mean, you're on the road. I'm like, go for it. Milwaukee was going to be a tough game either way. So to me, honestly, I thought that was going to be a loss. So me as a coach, I would have done exactly what Spo did. I'm like, just throw it into the fire. This is the rotation that I want. Let me see if it works. Plain and simple. So I'm all for that. And the reason I see that is obviously now, big man, keep it in the NBA. This situation blew up the NBA offseason. It blew up the market. The inflation went crazy. GMs, Danny Ainge started asking for 17 first-round picks. When Minnesota went all in for Rudy Gobert. I will vouch for it from the beginning. I talked to Bobby about it. I was not a big fan of the move because I didn't feel that he was equipped to play alongside Karl-Anthony Towns. And now certain little rumors are coming out that Minnesota might be inclined to possibly listen. They've said no for now, like everybody says no.
Who's going to say yes? Who's going to say that they're
Exactly.
going to do that? Yeah.
Yeah, they're inclined, and I'm pretty sure they will listen because he is, aside from Anthony Edwards, Karl-Anthony is their second best asset. So you have to start acquiring the assets you give up for Rudy Gobert. And you're tied for Rudy Gobert. You're not going to be able to trade Rudy Gobert at all. So, Bob, you
Yes,
mentioned this. Do you see a situation where Minnesota even actually trades Karl-Anthony Towns? Are they going to get anything comparable to what he's worth?
I don't think you get any. I mean, did Kevin Durant get comparable to what he's worth?
No, of course not. Of course
That's
not.
a.
I mean,
they
got some. They got some.
They got some
decent
value,
work,
but they didn't get what he's worth.
Nothing
And
crazy,
and we know Kevin Durant. I mean, and we know Karl-Anthony Towns is not worth Kevin Durant. But he is still stellar. I think there's a team that might be desperate enough to make a move. A team that feels that it's a couple players or a player away from making a run. I think they might be desperate enough to be like Minnesota and throw picks and just kind of get desperate. There might be a team like that. Atlanta,
Orlando.
One of those younger teams like Minnesota. There might be a team. And you know what? Honestly, and in regards to Minnesota side, it's not a bad situation really to have him as oh my gosh, I'm losing his name now. The center. Gobert. You have Gobert as your center. You trade away Anthony Towns. You get some young pieces back plus draft picks. You still have Anthony Edwards. You got a good young roster still.
That becomes Utah again. What Utah was with Mitchell and Gobert. They just switched it over to Minnesota.
Exactly, it'd be the kind of same. But no, like you said, Orlando. I say probably Atlanta might be a team to look for. What other team do you think could make a type of move? For a Karl-Anthony Towns, where would be a natural fit for him?
Well, you see, Clutch, I'll throw this to you. There are a few teams that the problem is it comes into play, Bob, in the offseason. A lot of teams that are hard capped. There's going to be some teams that the only way they could add on is via trade. They don't have the outright cap space to sign anybody or trade for him into a cap space. I'm going to be interested to see, honestly, how it plays out with the Lakers. Because the Lakers this offseason, LeBron James is hurt. He's going to miss 2 to 3 weeks, which goes into part of the load management. I'm not a big fan of load management, but at a certain age, with the mileage that LeBron has had and him playing through the injury, you have to be very careful because, you have a new nucleus which was you're supposed to be part of your stretch run, and now you lose your main component. You lose your real engine because you're not going to rely on Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is out today, so you can't rely on him. So honestly, the window in LA could be shutting down as we speak due to Father Time and just coming.
It shut down right after the finals. It shut down after the finals. That was when it closed. You know, in my opinion, at least.
Even the Warriors and Clutch. I want to throw this to you because there were some trades in season, and some buyout candidates that changed the landscape. Warriors make a move and they trade Wiseman, honestly, for cap reasons. And he wasn't going to get a chance to perform, which I never understood how they were not able to incorporate somehow into this rotation because you see the way he's playing now in Detroit, right, Clutch? And they traded Sadiq Bey. Now, they go ahead and they trade Sadiq Bey to Atlanta. I, as Bob Myers, put my GM hat on, I would have been interested to keep Sadiq Bey because I believe he can fit into that Draymond Green role. Not exactly him, but he can become that part of that nucleus as Curry ages, as Klay Thompson ages. So I would have kept Sadiq Bey. I know they traded for Gary Payton, the second. He's going to be a role player for them. They still got Kuminga. But when you give up Wiseman, a talent that you see how he's performing in Detroit, I would have gone for Sadiq. So, Clutch, what do you think in regards to the West? Because it's up and coming, and Bob, I want to throw you guys a little situation there about John Moran and the little situation that's going on, the legal situation that he's going through right now, that it just came out today. So I'll throw that out there. But the West to me is like the Wild Wild West, man. Right now, the hierarchy obviously is Denver. You got the up and coming. You still got the Clippers at 7th. The Warriors are up to 5th. So that West is loaded, and they're going to keep going up. This is going to be a fun stretch. How do you see, Clutch, the West playing out this season as the finals? And now, in regards to LeBron being hurt, Curry coming back, how do you see that shaping up, man?
I mean, yeah, you just talked about the Lakers windows closing. The Lakers windows closed, I think, the second they traded for Russell Westbrook. Yep. I never really liked the fit, and I was kind of proven right on that. Mm-hmm. And if you want to talk about windows closing, the Warriors, I think that window is finally closing, and you knew eventually that they were going to have to pay the piper for that dynasty that they had for years.
Yeah, all those contracts, man. You have
to. And they were paying, and their owner were paying an insane amount of money to keep all these people with the luxury tax and all that. And you saw their second overall pick just a few years ago was a casualty of that.
And the way he's performing in Detroit, man. Have you seen the way he's playing?
Yep. Yeah, man. He's a talented player. There's a reason he got drafted second overall. And I don't know how the Warriors were using him, and they failed to capitalize on his value as a second overall player. And they just kind of traded him for something not worth a second overall pick.
At all.
I don't know what the Warriors are doing, and that's kind of just them maybe just, how do you say it, just scrambling.
Reshuffling,
Yeah, they're just scrambling to try to make whatever they have left competitive, and they try to get Gary Payton back, somebody they won a championship with. But, yeah, that window is closing fast. And as that window closes, then the big window for the Phoenix Suns opens. Because I like the Nuggets. I think Jokic is an incredible player. I think he's probably in the running for a third MVP in a row.
Yes, I think he has it secured, bro. I think he has it secured this year.
Yeah, but I just don't think the Nuggets are playoff performers.
Okay, deep playoff run performer.
Yeah, I think their absolute ceiling is the Western Conference Finals. But I'm talking about absolute ceiling. And that they don't have enough to get over that hump, especially now with Kevin Durant in the West. And then you have other teams if you face the Mavericks on a really good day, Kyrie and Luka are dropping 40 each on you.
I'll touch on that now.
We had 4 YouTube live viewers who were Denver Nugget fan, and when he said Nuggets weren't going to make a run, they disappeared. They all disappeared right when it said the Nuggets. I'm like, oh shoot!
Like, we
Oh,
gone, boy,
man.
we gone.
Great
That's
job, Clutch.
Some
I see it.
controversial takes today, huh?
Yeah, I know, right?
First Goron and now this.
I'll say this, Clutch. Denver, I do believe Denver is healthier this year. I do believe they're deeper. Them trading Bones Highland to me was a little iffy. I don't know if it was money wise. I know they signed Reggie Jackson. It gives you some experience, but I like the Bones component when it came to them. Now I'll throw this to you, Bob, because I personally don't see Kyrie sticking it out in Dallas after this year. I like the fit offensively, but the moment they acquired Kyrie, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Mavs have the worst defense in the stretch from the moment they acquired Kyrie. So, do you see this working long term? Because interior defense they don't have. Obviously, the personnel is not there this year. They might need another year. But do you see Kyrie sticking this out and re-signing there?
Hell no, it's Kyrie. No. I mean, find another team. Maybe he's one that goes to the Lakers. Maybe they figure that out somehow, because that's what he was trying to do. I would say, you know what? I don't know why. When you guys were talking, it just hit me. Karl-Anthony Towns to the Warriors makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. That might be a team to look out for Karl-Anthony Towns. But Kyrie, no, I don't see him sticking it out there. I thought it was a risk. I think that move right there. I think Mark Cuban made a win now move.
That was a desperate move.
It was a win now move. You want to win a ring, and it looks enticing. Who wouldn't want to draft a player or trade for a player of the caliber, talent wise, on the court of a Kyrie? But you got to add everything else to it. And it's always, to me, you can never hold your breath on how long it will be until he decides he doesn't want to play for that game or this. For this season, it's kind of a risk too big. I didn't want Miami making that move. I know you kind of, said you were okay with it. I wasn't. I'm not a fan of Kyrie coming to the Heat because I'd rather just not deal with that drama.
I was a fan because he fits what we needed over
Sure.
Kyle Lowry. Because we have a Bam Adebayo, we got a Jimmy.
He'd be on the court as much as Lowry, but not for what Lowry's hurt.
Look, this year I gotta get health-wise. It wasn't a situation. But Kyrie is notorious. Obviously, the past situations with the vaccine and all that. But he's a notorious. Whenever he says he's going to resign, he leaves. Everywhere he's been, I'm going to stay here. Oh, if you'll have me. No, you're gone, dude. You're gone. The end game was he wants to go to the Lakers. And I do believe that he will end up there. Maybe a sign and trade. Or they do have the cap space to sign him outright.
They do.
Don't be surprised if the Lakers, I still think to me, which is funny because it continues to happen. A lot of these teams go all in for that one-player clutch, and the Lakers went all in for Anthony Davis. We understood what they were trying to do. And this is kind of the blueprint that happens with LeBron. LeBron, when he got to Cleveland, they went all in and they traded for Kevin Love. They traded all their young nucleus. They kept Kyrie Irving. The same situation happened when he got to LA. They traded all their nucleus. They kept Kyle Kuzma. When they traded everybody else to New Orleans for Anthony Davis, you knew what they were doing, but they built a solid team around them. Then when you trade Kuzma and Caldwell Pope for Russell, that whole nucleus is gone. Now, the more you see Anthony Davis play this year, I don't fear Anthony Davis. Like, does any team right now fear Anthony Davis like the way he was feared years ago as the all-complete player? Like, no. So don't be surprised if the Lakers do entertain moving Anthony Davis this offseason, if it might involve acquiring a Kyrie Irving, another type of package. Because Luka, when we talked about Goran, I do believe Goran ends up signing in Dallas, where he is kind of like the Luka mentor, which for us is the ultimate recruiter. We always like to send our pieces elsewhere, and we do the little recruiting for us. So that's a component. John Wall might end up in Phoenix. I think there's a possibility he might end up in Phoenix. The Westbrook situation on West, I'll throw this one to you, Clutch. I was a fan of Westbrook in our role. In Miami, he would have been a backup point guard.
Better than Kyrie.
Yeah. In the Clippers, now he's getting a bad rap because the Clippers haven't won since he's got there. I understand some moves and some adjustment, but Westbrook has played fairly well in his minutes in LA since he signed. What do you see out of all the trades in season, the buyout additions? Which one to you, Clutch, has really pushed? Obviously, or we're a little biased with Love, and we see the the product on the court, so we know where it's going. But across the whole NBA, out of all those moves, which one do you think has been the most significant to the team that added that person or that player?
Are we talking just buyouts or including the trade deadline?
Including trades, and buyouts.
From the few games I've seen, I think the Bucks did a good job doing their homework on Jay Crowder because he seems to fit very well.
Perfect. Okay,
And
that's true.
Yeah, but the obvious winner is going to be the Suns.
Oh, that's by far. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll see how it ends up playing, but I was thinking about it the other day, Bob, and the Suns acquired Durant, and you still have Devin Booker, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, and obviously you don't have depth, which this is the part here. This is the tricky part. You don't have depth. So this is your core, and obviously it's a hell of a core. And there you have probably the top four. Yeah, I would say so. In the West-wise, that to me might be the most complete team. It might be the most talented team up in the starting unit, but the depth comes into play. So I'll ask you the same thing, man. Out of everybody, trades, buyout additions, what to you has moved the needle the most so far? Obviously, Durant makes a debut today, so we'll see it firsthand how it works.
Well, no, I think it has to be Kevin Durant to the Suns, right? I mean, again, I love the Kevin Love move. I know a lot of people saw it like, oh, he's washed, which is crap. I mean, the dude was second place, third place, and sixth man of the year. I mean, he was coming off the bench.
You can't replace that IQ. And those outlet passes, oh, beautiful.
You know what Cody Zeller is? Those little moves, and we could complain and bitch and moan and all about Pat Riley and sleeping on the job or whatever the hell you want to say. But it's not just Riley. I mean, you got to, Ellisberg and all these other guys, they know what they're doing. And sometimes they're not going to throw away the farm for one guy when they think that it's not going to help them move the inch. But they waited, they were patient, and they got Kevin Love. And that's going to move the needle, I believe, in the East in the playoffs. Will it help get over a Boston Celtics basketball team? Maybe, but I think it's going to help you in the long run. With the West, it's definitely the Suns. I mean, Chris Paul, Kevin Durant, Ayton, Booker. Yeah, the bench took a hit, but the starters, what they have on that starting court, will make up plenty for that. For what they lack on the bench, I think the Suns were the Kevin Durant move is going to help move that needle, and obviously they're the favorites to come out of the West, just on paper. You got the team like the Nuggets with their MVP, and that it's it's an obvious choice, but it's the Suns that will kind of help that Kevin Durant move that moves the needle.
And we're going to the it's 8:50 mark here, and I want to kind of end this on this. This was new today. There's been reports already. I'm not going to confirm or deny those in honesty, but there has been reports of the Ja Morant situation. This is the trend that we've seen coming. And there's always three parts to the story. Obviously, what he said, she said, and the truth. So we understand we don't have the full scope. But there is a trend that we see, and we do this with our high school players. When you're usually around trouble, there's something there. Okay? I'm not saying you as a person. I'm not saying, or it could be who the people you're hanging out with. Like we always say, tell me who you're with, and we tell you who you are, or you will, and how you will end up. We do this with our 15-year-olds, our 16-year-olds, and you kind of start seeing there's something very worrisome that I'm seeing with Ja Morant. And this is not a knock, and how your upbringing. A lot of people tend to focus on like single parent homes in the African American community, that they have a certain level of like basically a statistic of failure in regards to graduation rates, high crime rates, and that really bothers me because that's not always the case. Ja Morant grew up in a home, a dual-parent home, a decent neighborhood, and for some reason, he keeps on attracting or having these altercations that have turned physical with sometimes underage people. I mean, a 17-year-old, I have 17-year-olds that are 6'5", 240, so I don't go by the age only. But I'm seeing a trend that is worrisome to me. If I was a GM, if I was a head coach, this is, and also honestly, markability. Powerade today just released. They basically re-released a new ad in the sports market, and Ja Morant featured athlete. for Powerade as probably the number one spokesperson. There is a trend that I see that he continues to attract, whether it's through his dad, whether it's through his actions. There seems to be some more problems adding up and adding up. I'm not a big precursor on the imaging because, like I said, you might be at the wrong time, the wrong place at the wrong time, but that doesn't happen every single time. So, Clutch, I want to ask you this. We know the growth of the Memphis Grizzlies, and Bob, you're in the state. You see their growth internally. There might be a veteran away, but they have all the components to contend for a prolonged period of time. Everything is in place. When your top player continues to attract negative attention towards him, towards the organization, at what point do you start worrying, if you're not already worried, with his antics? Because I love the players expressing themselves. I love player empowerment. I'm all good with it. But you start seeing the antics. You start seeing the verbiage not being backed up by anything you've done on the court. Athleticism, I've always compared Ja Morant to even Steve Francis, Russell Westbrook, and Derrick Rose. So you see the potential. But for example, Clutch, when do you start worrying about this and you start saying, I'm like, is it Ja Morant or is this who he's with? What can we do to correct this and help him out? Because he has a bright future ahead of him. And it looks that he's right now tinkering between popularity, who he is off the court, and who is on the court. How do you mesh that so you can be successful as a franchise and he can be successful as a human being?
I mean, as a franchise, I don't know what you can do as a franchise. I think the Memphis Grizzlies are a very good team, like you said. Mm-hmm. I think they're one big piece away from being championship contenders. I think they're a good team. As a franchise, I don't know what you can do about Ja's personal life. I think you just have to hope and give him the resources needed to be able to mature as a professional and as a person. But yeah, I said the Grizzlies need one more piece to be a championship contender. I mean, these antics, what big piece is going to want to go there if it keeps happening? Because it's not like we talk about Ja and the people he's around and all that, but it's not just Ja. You see the antics that Dylan Brooks does.
Exactly. It's the behavior.
You see, it's kind of like the Grizzlies, in a way, set a culture in that way of showing off, boasting, and I'm just talking about on the court stuff.
And you really haven't done anything yet, bro. You haven't done anything. Like, you can't do anything yet. And you gotta be able to do. When you're gonna boast about something, you have to have your track record to back it up.
Yeah, and then you have Dylan Brooks walking into the game and dressed like Stone Cold.
Like Stone Cold.
I saw a comment that was hilarious. It was like he's, instead of Austin 316, he's Austin 3 for 16.
That's awesome. Oh, that's funny.
That's awesome. But yeah, these are young guys that I don't know what you do other than hope they mature. Because if they just keep doing this and they come off to some as obnoxious, who wants to go complete that team to win a championship?
So I agree with Clutch, and there's nothing really the organization could do. What could make the difference? Because he's a young player. It's the company he keeps. That's going to be kind of hard. And you didn't really put in this contract any kind of rules or set in stone thing. You just got to hope that he does best. What you could do, what would be best, is signing that veteran player, a star player, and having him put him under his wing. I'm not saying this is something that they're going to do. I'm not saying, let's say Karl-Anthony Towns. That's not going to do something for him, I don't think. But a player of a LeBron James caliber would be a player that could help him, put him in the right circles. Teaching him, hey, keep your eye on the guys that you bring around your circle, what they could do for you. Or bringing in some guys, maybe not to play, but get some former players that dealt with stuff like that, like an Allen Iverson, who was one of the best, but had questionable circles. That might be a route to go. They are just a piece away. I think there might be a player who sees that roster and says, you know what, I could be the difference, and that could be the key ticket for me to win a championship. but that player would have to be someone who's going to have to take Ja under his wing and lead him in the opposite direction than where he's going off the court. You know, it's a sticky situation, you know, but there's not much the Grizzlies can do besides that, at least I think.
Yeah, to your point, Bobby. I mean, as Heat fans, some people they love to make fun of Udonis Haslem still being on the roster.
Right there.
But
Yep.
he keeps everybody on this team accountable. He's from Miami. He's had a questionable background growing up, and he somehow comes to work every day. He's professional, and he doesn't let any personal stuff get in the way of success. And I think that's important. And John Morant and the Grizzlies would benefit greatly from somebody like Udonis Haslem.
Yep, absolutely.
You know what it sucked because it was a matter of timing. What sucks about the Grizzlies is that they have developed so quickly, and they're a young team. They didn't develop with like an older presence, like a Zach Randolph, for example, and even a Rudy Gay, or like Andrew Iguodala. Obviously, didn't want to be there. But usually, those teams like that, you start getting a little too cocky because you think it's all about you, and you forget that it's the whole unit. But it was just when I saw the report come out today, and obviously, you know, athletes at times have legal issues, they go through legal troubles. We understand all that. But I'm like, damn, it keeps going back to John Morant and the situations that are happening. And I understand if you're being threatened and you protect your family and all that. I get that. But is the consistency of this happening to the same person over and over and over? So that's when you're like, wait a second. If it's A, B, and C, and A has a problem with B, C, and D, like, oh, wait, let's start looking at A. What's going on? What are you doing? What are you surrounding yourself with? And like you said, it might just take a strong voice. And you also have a young owner. You don't really have a GM with like that was like a Jerry West, like a Pat Riley with older. That commands respect too. And I'm not knocking anything, Memphis GM. I'm just saying there needs to be a hierarchy in place. And with your coaching staff, with your player personnel, and you mentioned even Udonis when he talked about next year, he kind of wants to be a hybrid personnel where he is in the locker room with the coaching staff, with the owners. So this is also a new part of the NBA where you have that unwritten head coach relationship person that is kind of like all around the organization. You need that because at times you lose touch with both sides. Owners really don't know what players go through at times and vice versa. So you need that. You need to bridge that gap. And with that being said, I want a special thank you for our founder, creator of the Fins Talk Sports Network. He's always welcome to talk with us on Fast Break. We started a little bit late today, and next week, I promise you, I want to get more clutch into the East, and we could dig deep down into these further rotations, and we'll kind of have a week's worth of Kevin Durant in Phoenix, and we'll see how that works. So we'll touch upon that next week. And like it's a tradition of us, Bobby, I always give the final word to Clutch because he usually has nothing else to say. So, Clutch, with that being said, do you have anything else, man, Tad?
No, man, just to remind everybody, Goran Dragic over Tim Hardaway.
Jesus Christ, man.
I'm getting all the old heads mad on purpose.
Oh, yeah, for sure. This is more of like a Phoenix because it's funny now you say that. Statistically, I think they're on par. I think maybe Timmy averaged more assists. I think Goran shot better than Timmy. But statistically, this is fun. For next week, Clutch, let's come up with the stats and see. So we can determine the 1A, 1B.
The most important thing, the Heat don't make the NBA Finals in 2020 without Goran Dragic.
That is true. And he got hurt. We would have won the NBA Finals. Oh, man. You see, that's another part.
That's probably one of the biggest ifs in recent Heat history.
Jesus Christ. Dude, I think every team is full of what ifs across all sports. But Miami, the Heat have gotten a few of those with Zoe getting a kidney transplant, losing Zoe in 99 after we make the trade for Eddie Jones, losing Chris Bosh when we were successful and we were going on the stretch, and then Dragic and Bam getting hurt in that final series.
I'm going to get these guys backstage, Alex. You hop on when you're ready. I'm going to get these other guys their message.
Oh, yeah, go.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Like, subscribe. Eat culture for the culture. I'll see you soon. Boom.
He so wanted to talk some Dolphins. You could see it there at the end. He was
ready to talk about that Tua extension.
He was gonna go off on Tua. All right, guys, thank you so much for being patient. Next week we'll start on the time for Fast Break on Wednesday every hump day with you. Remember, like, subscribe, Heat Culture on the Fins Talk Sports Network. I'm yours truly, Alex. My man Clutch already said the final words. Much love. See you next week. Go Heat, baby.